Okay, fam, welcome back. So today we're going to be going over the Grayscale max profit target Fibonacci retracements. So with that being said, let's get it. Okay, so the next video that we're going to do tomorrow will be on the Grayscale Trust, but we're going to I got to try to remember this. We got to put the new ones in here so you guys can see the new ones as well, because again, altcoin season really hasn't happened, and you know some of these may interest some people that they may want to get into maybe before they go to all-time highs. Again, that's not financial advice. Nothing here I'm saying is a suggestion to do anything. I'm just telling you guys that the opportunity is there. Okay. All right. So quick bird's eye view here. I did want to show you guys that, and we posted this on X too, that mstr and Coinbase have been absolutely ripping today. The other things that have been ripping is the miners. As you can see, we'll talk about that in a separate video. The markets are officially closed for the week now, but you can see the miners have just been absolutely tearing it up. So, I mean, you got Mara 5%, Riot 7%, Hut 8, a massive 14%, BITF 10%, even CLSK up at 9.5%. So pretty huge gains here. And Bitcoin itself is also pushing up against 69,000. It's getting pretty close. I think Bitcoin has a strong likelihood of probably being at 74,000. Maybe not later than the end of the month. Maybe right around the time of the elections at the latest. I mean, it could take until the mid to the end of next month, but I'm just not sure at this point. I mean, it's moving up pretty fast, so we'll see. All right, so going over the levels here. This is, of course, it looks like we have a higher low here, so you guys can see that on the charts. We have to assume that's a higher low until it's proven otherwise or not. So you got 84, 126. We'll say that's about 170, and then you have 195 respectively for the kind of local level there. Again, about to get that golden cross on the MACD. That's a big deal. So in terms of the macro levels here, and again, this is not going to be perfect because this is very hard to measure because the chart is so massive. It's roughly about 840, 1,360, 1,800, and 2,160, or roughly thereabouts. Okay, so BCHG, you guys can see that one actually had a pretty massive day. It's larger actually than LTCN. That's kind of surprising, but is what it is. So same thing as LTCN. It does appear that we possibly might have higher lows here. That's always an early reversal indicator. So we'll measure it from there. So in terms of levels here, we're looking at roughly about 35, 54, 75, and 86. Again, you know, these prices could land anywhere between the 1.618 to 4.236. It doesn't necessarily have to land exactly on the line. It could be anywhere in between those, okay? So just understand that and maybe consider being a little fluid with it. I tell you guys these line charts, or the lines on the fibs, intentionally just to kind of give you a number, so to speak, but they could realistically land anywhere between the all-time highs, 60 in this case, going all the way up to 255. So do keep that in mind. It could even go past 255. We've also seen them some of these prices extend past the top measurement. So roughly about $100, 158, 214, and then 250 on this one. Okay, so HZen, it was up a lot today. I'm not sure what happened, but then it kind of fell back down. So that sucks, but we'll just have to deal with it. Okay, so giving you guys the measurement here, we have roughly about 1560, 24, 3220, and then 3760, somewhere in there. I like using round numbers personally. It's easy to remember. So in terms of the macro levels here, macro levels we're looking at is 47, 78, 106, and roughly about $125 all the way up at the top. So pretty good gain there. I mean, that's, what is that, a 30x if it goes all the way up there? It's a pretty big return. I mean, you put $500 in, you're talking $15,000. I mean, $500 is a lot for a lot of people, but if you're in these markets, it's probably not much. Okay, so ETCG here. Looking at the local level here, we have roughly about 2670, 3940, 5040, and 52 and a quarter. So the all-time high for ETCG was just shy of $100, so pretty massive move there. I am expecting ETH Classic once Ethereum starts moonshotting after Bitcoin's topped out. I'm expecting ETH Classic to have some pretty monstrous gains this cycle because, again, it did the exact same thing last cycle. When Ethereum took off, ETH Classic took off shortly after that, and it just did like stupid gains. We bought, I think, like 2 or 3 ETH Classic at the lows at like $7 or something, and it went all the way up to over 170, 180, something like that. And I was like, well, damn, we should have bought more. Well, crap, now we gotta wait till the next cycle. Okay, so 158, 257, you got 347, and then roughly about $400. So $400 from the current price. I mean, that's a massive gain. That's like almost a 50x. I mean, it could happen. It's possible. I mean, we have the spot ETH ETFs now. So once this thing starts ripping to the moon, I mean, I know these are rich investors that buy the ETFs, and a lot of them are accredited investors and stuff like that, well-seasoned people that have lots of money and know how to manage it properly. They probably will be the ones buying on the dips, or having their asset managers or whatever buy on the dips, whereas some of the retail traders buying these spot ETFs may not buy them until they actually start ripping to the moon. So we might see a combination of the two. But the mix of those two could create the explosion that causes the FOMO that could then drive people to buy more of them, which would drive the price up even higher. So $47 here for 64, 82, and then you have about 94 for ETH. Now this one is a little bit funky because, again, the all-time high was really, really far back there. All right, so on this one we have roughly about 107, 166, 228, and roughly about I just call that one 270 for simplicity's sake. So more than a 10x. Could Ethereum do a 10x this cycle from the current prices? I don't know. I would say 26,000 ETH is kind of stretching a little bit. It's possible, but again, my personal estimate for Ethereum is going to be somewhere between 10 to 20,000. I would say 10 to 15,000 on the more realistic range. I'm not so sure it could go all the way up to 26,000. That's pretty high. But it doesn't mean that these trusts can't do it because, again, the ones that have not been converted to, well, ETH has actually been converted to an ETF, but as far as I know, the GPTC and ETH have been converted to ETFs. But if for whatever reason ETH has not yet been converted to an ETF, it's possible that the premiums could push it up to, basically getting up to that kind of where Ethereum would have been at 26,000, but it would be that for ETH. Okay, so GBAT. There's really only one to do here. That's pretty much from the all-time high to the all-time low because, again, the all-time high for this one is during this cycle, not the previous cycle. So we're looking at roughly about $50, $81, 110, and roughly about 127 on this one. Huge gains there to be made, at least like a 20-something X. PhilG, same thing. The all-time high is during this current cycle. Again, this doesn't surprise me. I mean, a lot of these were probably not even around for the majority of the bull run last time. So we don't really know what they're truly capable of doing just yet. All right, so 650, 975, 1,370, and 1620. Let's take a look at GLIV. This one is the all-time high was also this cycle. Okay, so GLIV here. We're only going to get one measurement on this. This is about 120, 188, 253, and 295. And I know a lot of you guys out there may have like particular taste. Like you're like, oh, well, I only like the GXLM, or I only like GBAT. You guys have your favorites, right? Everybody has their favorites. We don't really see crypto as being favorites. We look at crypto based on the value of the project and if it's at a good buying point to get in. 90% of the time we manage to nail this, but on occasion, we don't get it right. So again, no trader and no investor is perfect. Everybody has a slip up sometimes. So G-Link, same thing, just a simple one-trick pony here. So you're looking at roughly about 355. I'd call this one roughly about 550, 735, and 865. So potential for maybe more than a 10 to 15x, somewhere in there. All right, GSOL, also just a one-trick pony on this one. 776, 1075, 1390, and 1580. The one thing I will say about GSOL is I do actually think it could go above $1,600, and I'm going to tell you why I think this is likely. Because if I actually just, and again, you guys are, of course, entitled to your opinions here, but if I actually just draw this zone here, you can see it's pretty much mainly just kind of a big fat bull flag, okay? And again, from the explosion upwards, we would have to measure this out in time. And this was assuming once it got out of the flag. And again, this is not going to be quite at 1600, but you kind of get my point here that there is more upside to come with this bull flag. But the point I want to make here about it potentially going higher than 1600 is not so much that it looks like it's in a bull flag. It's the fact that this thing has gone up and not retraced completely back down to lows like we've seen on some of these other trusts. Okay, so if I was going to see a retracement, I would have expected to see it down to this area or maybe this area or even all the way down here, but we did not see that. Okay, whereas if we take a look at something like G-Link, we did see a retracement. PhilG, we saw a very heavy retracement, and so on. LTCM, BCHG, but we have not seen that with GSOL. So it could actually go much higher than 1600 because, again, this is a pullback in time. Okay, it's not actually a pullback. This is a time capitulation, whereas this is a price capitulation. Okay, we went over that in Bitcoin. If you guys haven't seen our Bitcoin videos, go check it out. But we do talk about it more in depth in those videos. Okay, so next one here, GXLM. Okay, so we got 100, 156, 216, and 250. And I'm actually gonna circle back around to GSOL at the end of this video because I did want to point something else out about that too that I just remembered. Okay, so you have about 160, 245, 335, and $400 respectively going down to mana. So this one is just a single measurement because, again, we did hit all-time highs during the cycle already. Okay, so you got 107, 175, 237, and then 278 respectively. Last one here is Zcash. So this one's going to get a double because we have not hit all-time highs this cycle. So local level here, we got roughly about 1450, 2140, 2780, and I'd say about $32 respectively. Again, the previous all-time high is at 40, so that's actually above that top 4.236. And then for the macro one, we got 64, roughly about 104. I just call it about $100 even, 138, and then 162 respectively on this one. So pretty huge upside here. There's a potential for, I'd say, probably somewhere between a 20 to a 40x. I honestly, I think could be realistic, especially with the premiums. So the thing I want to point out about the pullback in time versus the actual pullback or price capitulation versus time capitulation, when this thing is chopping sideways and a pullback in time, it's already retraced. It would be, so the move is equivalent to a price pullback. Okay, a pullback in time is equivalent to a price pullback. The difference is, with a pullback in time, you don't need to retrace as much of the price to get back to break even, if you understand what I'm saying. So the low on this move here, and again, this is not the exact low, but we would only have to move 105% to get back to the all-time highs, okay? Whereas if this thing had pulled all the way back down here to, let's say, $70 or something, then we would have had to move 750% to get back to all-time highs. Okay. So what I'm basically saying here is that, in my opinion, pullback in times movements actually have more upside potential here than an actual pullback itself. Again, if we pull back from here to this swing low, would have been about 100% drop, or not 100% drop, but 100% to get back to the all-time highs, versus pulling back from the all-time highs all the way down here. You would have needed to basically make up 750% gain to get back to break even, assuming you bought up here. Okay. So if I were to extend this out, we can say, okay, well, if I got a 750% gain from, well, okay, I'm actually measuring from the wrong level here. Sorry, y'all, it's too many levels here. Okay, so 750% gain, you can see basically would have brought you back to all-time highs with the price capitulation, right? However, with a time-based capitulation, again, we can measure this and see, well, okay, it's roughly only about 100%. We'll be generous here, throw a little extra on top, say it's 150%, okay? So if we tack on the other 600% from the retracement low for the pullback in time, you can see the move here would be absolutely insane, okay? So we put the price at 1,886 versus if we got that 750 profit from that price capitulation, it would only bring us back to all-time highs. Anyways, hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.